Hey guys, I'm back again. And so we will be doing today, or should I say, we will be looking at this shelf right here. This one, I haven't put the books back just yet. I'm working on the best way to do that. But let's go and have a look at these. So I'll be back with the books in just a minute. Okay, guys, I'm back and I only have one shopping bag worth of books. So, oof, this is really good. All right, so the first book on my bookshelf was this one right here. This is a book that my kids used to read all the time. My daughters love this book. It's in the shape of an airplane. It's about flying. It's pretty cute. Yeah, they bit and chewed on it and read it, carried around with them. They both loved it. So I still have it on my bookshelf and I'm still keeping it. All right, the next book on my list is This Is How You Lose Her by Junot Diaz. This is a special edition, which I purchased right after I read the brief history of Oscar Wilde. Is that what it's called? I can't remember what it's called. But this one has these great illustrations in them. Here we go. Fantastic illustrations. And yeah. So let me just tell you what this one is about. It says, for this gorgeous new edition, Jamie Hernandez, deemed one of the 20th century's most significant comic creators, has crafted stunning full-page illustrations, one for each story, that brilliantly captures the love-haunted spirit of the book and of the gutsy women whom irrepressible, irresistible Junior loves and loses. A true work of art inside and out, this is a keepsake that fans will treasure and new readers will delight in discovering. So yeah, I'm not giving this one away. I'm keeping it and I'm going to read it. Okay, this next one is called Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. Now, I read this when it came out. And I think I read this one with my Normandy book club. And I enjoyed the book. It was very interesting. It takes place in a circus, considering I don't like circuses. But I like this book because it's really around the elephants. But I will be giving this one away because I don't perceive rereading this one. All right. But I recommend it. If you haven't read it, to read it. It's good. All right. The next book I have on the list is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. Now, I read Piranesi and I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good. This one I purchased a long time ago. This was a BookTube purchase. I know it is a kind of a fantasy kind of book, and I'm not sure if I could get on board with this one or not, but I don't want to give it away. I love this red edition. I think it's really cool. I heard the story is really, really good. Okay, it's quite the chunker. Coming in at almost 1,000 pages. Like, I don't know if I can do this again so soon. 1,006 pages. But it's been on my shelf for a while. And I feel like it's something that I should at least attempt to see if I would enjoy reading this one. So it says the year is 1806. England is beleaguered by the long war with Napoleon, and centuries have passed since practical magicians faded into the nation's past. But scholars of this glorious history discover that one remains, the reclusive Mr. Norrell, whose displays of magic send a thrill through the country. Proceeding to London, he raises a beautiful woman from the dead and summons an army of ghostly ships to terrify the French. Yet the cautious, fuzzy Norrell is challenged by the emergence of another magician, the brilliant novice Jonathan Strange. Young, handsome, and daring, Strange is the very antithesis of Norrell. So begins a dangerous battle between these two great men, which overwhelms that between England and France, and their own obsessions and secret dabblings with the dark arts are going to cause more trouble than they can imagine. So it is technically a book that I would really love to watch. But since I have it, I'm really going to try to get on board and see if I can read this. So I'm keeping it. That might be a mistake, but I'm going to do it. All right, this is another book that I've been wanting to pick up. I ran across it when I was looking on my shelf, and I said, ooh, yeah, I want to read this one. This one is called Annabelle, and it's by Kathleen Winter. This book came out in 2011. So it says, wait, it's here. In 1968, into the beautiful spare environment of remote coastal Labrador in the far northeast of Canada, a mysterious child is born, a baby who appears to be neither fully boy nor girl, but both at once. Only 3 people share the secret: the baby's parents, Jacinta and Treadway, and a trusted neighbor, Thomasina. Together, the adults make a difficult decision to go through surgery and raise the child as a boy named Wayne. But as Wayne grows up within the hyper-male hunting culture of his father, his shadow self, a girl he thinks of as Annabelle, is never entirely extinguished and it is secretly nurtured by the women in his life. As Wayne approaches adulthood and its emotional and physical demands, the woman inside him begins to cry out. The changes that follow are momentous, not just for him, but for the 3 adults that have guarded his secret. Okay, so I would love to read this one sooner than later so that I can find out how well this was done. It was shortlisted for the Orange Prize in 2011. Since we are more in a climate of understanding these kinds of situations, I'm wondering how well it was treated back in 2011 or whatever, whenever this was written. So I definitely want to get to this one. All right, the next book we have is Jim Crace's, Harvest. This was a Man Booker shortlist for 2013. So it says, as late summer steals in and the final pearls of barley are gleaned, a village comes under threat. A trio of outsiders, 2 men and a dangerously magnetic woman, arrives on the woodland borders and puts up a makeshift camp. That same night, the local manor house is set on fire. Over the course of 7 days, Walter Thrisk sees his hamlet unmade, the harvest blackened by smoke and fear, the new arrivals cruelly punished, and his neighbors held captive on suspicion of witchcraft. But something even darker is at the heart of this story, and he will be the only man left to tell it. So, yeah, this one sounds really interesting. And I did purchase it because it was on the Man Booker shortlist and wanted to read it and never got to it. So I am going to keep that one. All right, next we have this one right here, which is Songs of Willow Frost by Jamie Ford. Jamie Ford writes often about Chinese living in California. And I read a book, I don't know if it's here. I don't see it here, which is On the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, which was really good. It's a friendship between a Chinese American girl and a Chinese American boy and a Japanese American girl. And it's around the time when the Japanese Americans were put into imprisonment camps during World War II. So this is another one by him. And I tell you, he's a fantastic writer. This one, it says, William Ng has lived at Seattle's Sacred Heart Orphanage for 5 long years, ever since his mother's listless body was carried from their Chinatown apartment. When during a trip to the movie theater, William glimpses an actress on the silver screen, he is immediately struck by her features. Because Willow Frost is many things, a singer, a dancer, a movie star, but most of all, William is convinced she is his mother. Determined to find her, William attempts to confront the mysteries of his past, but the story of Willow Frost is far more complicated than any Hollywood fantasy. So yeah, this one sounds extremely good. Okay, and here it is right here. It's called Hotel on the Corner of Bittersweet. There it is right there. That's the book that I read that I really, really liked. So yeah, I'm going to keep this one. All right, the next book I had on my shelf was The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan. This was the winner of the Booker Prize in 2014. This book was lauded as being fantastic, but particularly brutal. This is not for the faint of heart, apparently. So it says, in the despair of a Japanese POW camp on the Burma Death Railway, Surgeon Dorigo Evans is haunted by his love affair with his uncle's young wife 2 years earlier. Struggling to save the men under his command from starvation, from cholera, from beatings, he receives a letter that will change his life forever. Okay, so yeah, this one, yeah, it's apparently extremely good, but extremely brutal. But I think I might keep it because I mean it is the winner. It was the winner in 2014, and a lot of people really like this book. So I'm keeping it. Okay, next we have Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Now, this one, I'm not so sure. It says 6 interlocking lives, one amazing adventure in a narrative that circles the globe and reaches from the 19th century to a post-apocalyptic future. David Mitchell erases the boundaries of time, genre, and language to offer an enthralling vision of humanity's will to power and where it will lead us. I am going to leave this one behind because I know I'm not going to like this one. So, yeah. All right, the next book is this big brick right here, which I don't know if I'll ever get to this one, but I would hope I would one day at least try to read it a little bit over 1 year. Because this book as well, it's in the 1,000, oh my goodness, 1,000, oh wait, these, I'm not sure. I think it's 1,101 pages. But these pages are huge. Just so you can have an idea, let's see. Do I have like a regular size book? Okay, this is a regular size book. See how the pages are really wide and tall. So this is called 3 Days Before the Shooting, and it's a Ralph Ellison. Now, we know Ralph Ellison for Invisible Man. That is the book that is the most popular or well-known. And then there's also Juneteenth. But there was also this one. Now, this one, it says, at his death in 1994, Ralph Ellison left behind several thousand pages of his unfinished second novel, which he had spent nearly 4 decades writing. 5 years later, Random House published Juneteenth, drawn from the central narrative of Ellison's epic work in progress. 3 days before the shooting gathers in one volume all the parts of that planned opus, including 3 major sequences never before published. Set in the frame of a deathbed vigil, the story is a gripping multi-generational saga, centered on the assassination of a controversial race-baiting U.S. senator who's being tended to by an elderly Black jazz musician turned preacher. Presented in their unexpurgated provisional state, the narrative sequences brim with humor and tension, composed in Ellison's magical jazz-inspired prose style. Beyond its compelling narratives, 3 Days Before the Shooting is perhaps most notable for its extraordinary insight into the creative process of one of this country's greatest writers and an essential, fascinating piece of Ralph Ellison's legacy. So, yeah. And that print isn't extremely big either. So, I'm keeping it though, because you never know. I might get, the wind and try to want to read it gradually over the year. All right. Next I have on my list is this one right here, which is Mad About the Boy, Bridget Jones, Helen Fielding. I have not read this, and I don't think I'm going to read it either. Because I think if I would have wanted to read it, I would have read it by now. It's a light read, probably, but I'm not interested. I don't really care anymore about Bridget Jones. All right, the next book I have here is called Gilgamesh, and it's by Joan London. I really don't remember procuring this book, but it is a used copy in very good condition. So it says, it is 1937 and the modern world is waiting to erupt. Okay. On a farm in rural Australia. Okay, I'm sold. It's in Australia. 17-year-old Edith lives with her mother and sister Frances. One afternoon, two men, her English cousin Leopold and his Armenian friend Aram, arrive taking the long way home from an archaeological dig in Iraq to captivate Edith with tales of a world far beyond the narrow horizon of her small town in Nundarup. One such story is the Epic of Gilgamesh, the ancient Mesopotamian king who traveled the world in search of eternal life. 2 years later, in 1939, Edith and her young son, Jim, set off on their own journey to Soviet Armenia, where they are trapped by the outbreak of war. Gilgamesh is a rich, spare, and evocative novel of encounters and escapes, of friendship and love, of loss and acceptance. A debut novel that marks the emergence of a world-class talent. So, yeah, Joan London, we're going to try this one. It sounds extremely interesting. Okay, another Ann Tyler book. It looks like I just went and pillaged all the Ann Tyler books. They were all over the place. Now they're all together. So this one is called Ladder of Years. And I'm not really sure what this is about. It says, on a beach holiday, 40-year-old Cordelia Grinstead, dressed only in swimsuit and beach robe, walks away from her family and just keeps on walking. We keeping it. All right. The next book I have on my list is this one right here, Les Damnés de Paris. So this is The Damned of Paris. This is a graphic novel. I read this one. It was really quite good. Just so you can see the thing. And I'm wondering, I don't know if this one is going to have another part to it or not. But it takes place in 19th century, so it's 1869. The main character is Constance Desprez. And she arrives at the Gare Saint-Lazare, the Gare Saint-Lazare train station. And let's see, I'm translating as I'm reading here. So she comes from the countryside to the Gare Saint-Lazare train station in Paris. and she's looking for her son. And it's her son that was placed in an orphanage at birth. And this is where the story becomes a little complicated, because she is in having to go and live in, the more popular area of Paris, where it's like more poor people living. And she finds out that finding out where her son is going to be more complicated than what she expected. But it's really good. It's beautifully drawn, and it's a great story. I don't know if it's translated in English, so I can't help you with that. All right, the next one I have here is another graphic novel. So you can see what this one looks like. And this is all on Frantz Fanon. This is a very good one as well, because it simplistically explains a little bit the life of Frantz Fanon, and a little bit about his philosophy and stuff like that. It's actually pretty good. It doesn't go into as much detail, but that's only because it's a graphic novel and it's fairly short. But I did like it, and I love the way it's drawn. And yes, I'm keeping that. Okay, the next one I have on my list is this one right here, The Bone Clocks, and this is David Mitchell. I'm afraid of David Mitchell, frankly speaking. I'm just going to be honest. I'm afraid of David Mitchell, and I have a feeling, I'm not sure though, but I think this might be part of a series. I think I'm going to give this one away. Sell it and give it away, because David Mitchell is a little bit too modern or too experimental for me. So I would prefer just, somebody else will read it. All right, the next book I have here is The Darling by Russell Banks. I did read this book with my book club. This was a wild ride. This one was quite the wild ride. So it has this whole thing. It's kind of takes place at a period where there was an actual uprising, and it happened in real life. And so Russell Banks placed the story at that period in that country. Let's see if I can read a little bit, because it's very complex, this story. So it says, Hannah Musgrave has always been on the run from her adoring parents, her many lovers, even from herself. As a young woman, she dropped out of Harvard and the privileged Boston world of her childhood to work for the terrorist group, the Weather Underground. Her activities put Hannah on the FBI's most wanted list, forcing her to flee to Liberia and West Africa. There, she marries an ambitious young politician and settles down to being a wife and mother. The marriage, though, is a complex one. Hannah can never quite bridge the difference between herself and her African husband. Even her 3 sons seem to come from a world far away. It is only the chimpanzees in the sanctuary she has developed, the dreamers, as she calls them, that become Hannah's true intimates. Liberia, in the meantime, is a country waiting to explode. A century of American exploitation has created a corrupt elite and a fragile military state where the threat of civil war is ever present. The violent events that follow touch everyone close to Hannah, and once again, she has to escape. This time, though, the past won't disappear. Liberia is filled with ghosts who beckon, and Hannah must answer their call. Let me tell you, this book right here was something else. I would definitely reread this one, because we had a good old time discussing this one, because when you read the what is on the inside jacket there, you think, okay, it's going to be, but it's even more of a wild ride than you can even imagine. There's so many themes moving around in this book. So good. This just some good writing right here. I think this is the first Russell Banks for me. I don't think I've read anything else by Russell Banks, but I would definitely get on board with reading something else by him. And here we have The Reserve. Here's another one by Russell Banks. This is a proof. So I'm going to give this one away because I don't do proofs. So this must have been a book, because some people give me books. They give me like their old books and stuff, and I usually go through. And I must have gone through really quickly and didn't see that this was a proof, but I don't do proofs. So I'm giving that away. All right, the next book I have is Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason. Helen Fielding, giving that one away. I read this one, so. All right, Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. This is the one I was telling you about. Jamie Ford. This is the one that I read with my book club. Fantastic. I will definitely maybe read that one day. I really like his stuff. All right, now this one I have not gotten to yet, strangely enough. This is Sue Monk Kidd, The Invention of Wings. Wait, let me get these books out. They're like in front of the camera. There we go. All right. So this one is The Invention of Wings. And I remember picking this one up, and I have not read it yet. Now, I have heard very good things about this one, but I'm going to keep it because I think I want to read this one. So it says, Sarah Gimke is the middle daughter, the one her mother calls difficult and her father calls remarkable. On Sarah's 11th birthday, Hetty Handful Gimke is taken from the slave quarters she shares with her mother, wrapped in lavender ribbons, and presented to Sarah as a gift. Sarah knows what she does next will unleash a world of trouble. She also knows that she cannot accept, and so indeed the trouble begins. A powerful, sweeping novel inspired by real events. The Invention of Wings is an unforgettable evocation of the American Deep South in the 19th century, where the evils of slavery were all but invisible to those who saw it as essential to their way of life. It is also the story of an impossible friendship and sisterhood against the odds, told with warmth, humor, and insight. So, yeah, I'm going to keep this one because I want to read it. All right, the last one is this one right here, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Now, you see, this one, I'm going to blame this one on BookTube because, yeah, it's a beautiful book, though. Look at the black edges and, you know, it's got, you know, a lot going on. It's beautiful, you know. Look at the end pages. All right, but is this really my cup of tea? I really don't know. It even has a red marker. So this one says, in 1886, a mysterious traveling circus becomes an international sensation. Open only at night, constructed entirely in black and white. Le Cirque des Rêves delights all who wander into circular paths and warm themselves at its bonfire. Although there are acrobats, fortune tellers, and contortionists, the Circus of Dreams is no conventional spectacle. Some tents contain clouds, some ice. The circus seems almost to cast a spell over its aficionados who call themselves the Rêveurs, the Dreamers. Nah, I ain't reading this. This got to go. It's beautiful, though, isn't it? It's got to go. All right, so that's it. All the books. You've seen them all. It's a pretty promising shelf for the most part. given away a few more. Not a lot, but enough. I mean, I've probably given away 2.5 bags of books now, and I still have 3 or 4 shelves to go. So I think this is a good one. So I'm gonna go now, and I'll be back with the next video of my next bookshelf tomorrow. See you then. Bye.